Greetings. How's it going? Kyle Parrish. I'm here on the live stream. I'm assuming I'm here on the live stream anyway because I'm not looking at it, so I don't know. But let me check.
Greetings.
Oh, how's it going? I gotta be
Kyle Parrish. I'm here on the live.
There we go. Now we won't get the weird echo loop, which can happen. So let's see. Yep, there I am on Facebook Live. I know that much. So anyway, how's it going? It is August 15th, 2022. Incredible amount of exciting things happening, apparently, in the political arena. Please feel free to put anything in the chat. Hey, Michael Kennedy, I see you there. I won't call out everybody. Hopefully we'll have a bunch of people. But so that's pretty cool, Michael. Thanks for joining. Wow, crazy times in the world. Huh? I mean, Trump never fails to surprise, does he, with all this stuff? But tonight, that's not what we're here to talk about. Tonight, I'm doing a kickoff video, and it seems kind of ironic I'm doing a kickoff video when I've been at this for a good while in a lot of ways, but a lot of people are kind of like, hey, what is this about? Who are you? What's your background? That type of thing. And I figured, why not just dedicate this first live stream? And this is pretty cool. This live stream is actually on Facebook Live, Twitter, Telegram, Twitch, and YouTube Live. So any of those venues you could go to, or none of those venues, as many people have chosen. So, but anyway, 5 different channels that we're going through tonight. So that's pretty cool. So first, let me introduce myself a little bit. And if you have any questions or whatever, don't hesitate to reach out and ask. So who am I? I am Kyle Parrish. I live in North Carolina, obviously. I actually do not live in the 5th district, which is kind of ironic, and we might as well get that out of the way. I live in Cary. Cary, North Carolina is a suburb of Raleigh. Why am I running in the 5th district? Well, because when I decided to run, the maps had not been drawn yet. They were still being fought over, the gerrymandering and that type of thing. So as all of the gerrymandering continued to work its way through the courts and the maps kept getting wiped out, I started looking for a place where I could run a campaign that I could make a difference over time, rather than try to compete against somebody who is here who would already do a good job. So where I live, Wiley Nickel is the guy. Now Wiley Nickel had some competition around here. There are several candidates, and that's in District 13, and he got the nomination. There was no need to have one more person running in this area because we really need to focus our energy on people that have the structure that can win in some areas. In my particular area, the artifact Virginia Fox has been in place for 18 years. And I noticed that nobody was going to run against Virginia Fox this cycle. And this is a woman who has done some extremely vile things, or at least said extremely offensive things in the past. Whether it's about a union boss that she was kind of stated she was happy that he died, or it was Matthew Shepard, who she made fun of and called his murder a hoax, or whether it was calling African Americans tar babies. She has done nothing but bring shame to the people of the 5th district. And so there was an opportunity for me to sign up and run, and so I decided to run because I don't believe anybody should run unopposed, especially someone with the ideology of a Virginia Fox. And so I filled out the paperwork, I paid my money, and I got into the race. Now, it's an extremely difficult race, there's no question about it, but it's a battle well worth fighting. I mean, as you all know, right now, our country's got some serious structural challenges that we're facing. And there are a lot of people who are taking advantage of those structural challenges in order to favor themselves into power. Our democracy is at risk. It's another huge reason I'm running is to talk to people about the challenges that we're facing. So I'll get into it more later in my introduction, but I don't mean to be hyperbolic, but I honestly do believe we could be on the cusp of seeing representative government go away. And so I want to use this forum, other forums, out talking to people, the whole works, to really talk to people and say, here's what I see happening. And here's what we need to do. And here's how you can help. Because we need to react. I think we might be a little late to the game, but that doesn't mean that we're out. So we got to go. So let's go back and talk a little bit about Virginia Fox. She is a transformational character in that she was not a MAGA Republican until it benefited her. Right? She was pretty much a mainline, she's kind of like a Jesse Helms Republican, for those of you who have been around a long time. Old South kind of anti-union, anti-women, anti-minority, anti-everything kind of character. But because it's expedient, what does she do now? I'll tell you what Virginia Fox does now. She kisses up to Donald Trump. And if Ron DeSantis takes over the lead, she'll kiss up to him. And if Satan himself took over, man, she'd be right there polishing his pitchfork for him. Virginia Fox is an opportunist, right? I guess some people wouldn't blame her for that. She's been at this a long time. She's never, from what I can gather, ever had a real private sector job. I think her family has a nursery, but it seems like that's really not a hands-on thing for her at all. She has worked for the community college system. She worked for Appalachian State University. She worked for the U.S. government. She's got permanent retirement, pension. She's got permanent health care. She cashes her check. She's lived a pretty cozy life on the dole. So, which makes it ironic because one of the things she loves to do is call everyone else a socialist. Now, personally, I think people who work for the government are providing valuable service. But people who work for the government and they complain about the government are just hypocrites. And it's really annoying. So that she is, right? The other thing is Virginia Fox doesn't seem to do a lot for the people in her district. So what do I mean by this? Well, I'm a pretty curious guy. So a few weeks ago, I guess it was like a month ago, I don't know, I went up to Christmas in July. So it had to be at least a month because it was July. Anyway, it was in Ashe County, West Jefferson. It's a really cool little town, a great little festival. And I actually stood out in front of this cart and the Democrats and talked to people as they walked by. And I really there are lots of MAGA hats. I mean, it's just like an 80% Republican county, something along those lines. But I would talk to the people. I try to draw them into a conversation, and not in any confrontational way, but in a curious, like, hey, what's going on? And I would ask them a single question. I'd be like, can you tell me anything that Virginia Fox has done for you? Ever. Ever. And out of all the people there, and I would estimate the number was around 20, and a couple of them are actually officials with the Ashe County Republican Party. Nobody could put their finger on a contribution she had made in 18 years. I mean, seriously, in 18 years, your legacy is nothing. Your legacy is that you made fun of Matthew Shepard getting murdered. That's it. That's what people remember you for. Because that's about what it is. But she's got an R after her name, and in this territory, that's all that seems to matter. Right? But that's where I wanted to go and talk to people. Why? Because we don't need to preach to the choir in the Democratic Party. And one of the reasons I ran was I hear and see a lot of Democrats preaching to the choir all the time. That's what they do. My dog apparently thinks that we should not preach to the choir here. I'm going to pause 1 second. I shall be right back, and I will edit this out of the video.
Yeah.
Anyway, I returned. Hey, so for you guys that follow the campaign, that should be kind of fun. That was Bronson, the campaign dog, making himself known. I guess he likes a little props. Anyway, there's a couple of pictures of him online. You can go check them out. So, back to Virginia Fox, and back to Ashe County, back to my philosophy. So when I signed up, it was very important for me to pick an area also where we could start talking to people about things that mattered to them, and those people weren't Democrats. Why? Well, I kind of feel like they've been forsaken by the Democrats. I don't know if that's a popular thing to say, but I see that the Democrats have kind of ignored a lot of people up in Western North Carolina, Lower North Carolina, Eastern North Carolina. If they aren't in the areas that are Democratic strongholds, there has almost been a conscious decision to abandon those folks. And I was like, we need to not abandon them. And here's why. The Democrats have basically forsaken a lot of that area. They've conceded it, which makes those people resentful because they're like, what do Democrats do for anybody? I don't know them. I've never met a Democrat. They've never done anything for me. And the Republicans, being pretty smart about stuff like this, they've just been lying to these people about what they're going to do for them. So it seems like over the years, given the choice, what you're getting is a bunch of people who've decided they're going to go with the person that lies to them and tells them that they're going to do something for them and tells them they're going to get better than the people who are never there. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to go up and see if I can't talk to these people and find out what their problems are and tell them that, yeah, actually, as a Democrat, I actually care. I'm here. I want to understand what their challenges are. And I want to talk to them about how I think those problems can be solved. And I'm also going to tell you this in a very straightforward fashion, because this is really about me. While I've been a registered Democrat for a long, long time, I am not party aligned faithful. I'm pretty close to the unaffiliated line. But if you're going to run for an office in the state of North Carolina, you have to register as either a Democrat or a Republican. It's the way it is. So it would not have been prudent for me to go register as unaffiliated and then try to go collect thousands of signatures to run. I'm running as a Democrat, and I do believe in a lot of the Democratic platforms, but I don't agree with the way that they handle a lot of things that they do these days. For example, forsaking entire giant areas of the country, forsaking the candidates that are running in those areas, focusing on small pockets of voters in highly dense areas, and hoping that that's going to work in the long term. There was a 50-state strategy that's come and gone, it seems. And in our state, there should be a 100-county strategy, but that seems to have not been around for a while. And I'm not faulting anyone or anything for this. I'm making an observation. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of the policies around healthcare, housing, education, jobs, internet access, all these things that Democrats advocate, given a conversation and a platform on which to speak to the folks that live in these areas, resonate. But it requires patience, it requires listening, it requires not coming to everybody with answers, but also coming to them with questions to understand what they need in order to penetrate that, which takes a lot of time. And you have to do it over years, which is what the Republicans have been incredibly successful at doing. We're seeing the results of decades of effort at the grassroots level in what's happening in many different areas of our body politic. And the Democrats don't seem to want to do that. They seem to want to run in for 3 months every 2 years and see what they can do. I'm not willing to do this. I mean, honestly, I'm getting out there and I'm going to mix it up with people who don't think the way I do. You know, some people are like, oh, there's some pretty scary characters out there. I don't think so. I think there's some people who are looking for answers. They're looking to have some faith in somebody who genuinely cares about their lives and their kids and their parents. And if somebody who genuinely cares and puts aside the partisanship and says, listen, let me talk to you about these things on a local level, you can have conversations. You absolutely can have conversations with people. So back to that Christmas in July thing, and a couple other times I've had fantastic conversations with hardcore MAGA people, right? Ones that ended up where they were like, we would vote for you. Why are you a Democrat? That was the way they ended up. And I'll tell you, the most resonant issue I found, and one that is nearest and dearest to my heart in many ways, is health care. When you talk to people about health care, whether they live in an inner city or whether they live out in the rural areas, health care in the United States of America for people who don't have money is a travesty. So a lot of these folks that are wearing the red hats, when you can talk to them about their challenges they're facing around the healthcare system, and you begin to talk about what I believe in, which is single-payer health care, it resonates. And all of a sudden, you've got a bond. And I'll give you 2 instances. The first was at that Christmas in July. It was a young man who had a couple of kids coming up, and he was like a mechanic, and he started talking about it, and he had an elderly mom, and he had a couple of kids that were really young, and they were having to go to the doctor, got the sniffles, all this kind of stuff, and he was getting brutalized, and his company charged a lot of money for his health care, and he didn't get a lot of benefit out of it, and he was extremely frustrated, and he was like, I should just be self-pay. I'm like, why would you, self-pay, you should be taken care of, and not free. So let's be very clear. Single-payer health care and universal health care is not free. Everybody pays for it. The difference is you don't pay a whole bunch of people at 1,000 different private health insurance companies and the health insurance brokers and everyone else in the system to pay your doctor. You just pay, put it into a repository, the government, and they pay the doctor. And you've got rid of the whole middleman. So where does this become even more evident? So this guy, by the end of it, was like, man, I love what you're saying. He's like, it's hard for me to think about voting for Democrat. And I think he actually lived in a different district, but he was like, man, if it were you in my district, I'd seriously consider voting for you. Then there was a guy, and I'm not going to say the name of the gas station. I was in Boone, North Carolina, which is in many ways a very liberal area, Appalachian State University, that type of thing. But I went into this gas station, and I was picking up some like Cliff Bars or something, and I overhear a conversation with this guy and his employee behind the counter, and they were cooking a pizza on this oven or something, and he's lamenting his health care. And I basically was like, excuse me, he's like, yeah. And I said, look, I said, I don't mean to bother you, but I'm Kyle Parrish. I'm running for Congress in the 5th district. He's like, running for Congress? Who are you running against? I'm like, Virginia Fox. He's like, oh, Virginia Fox. She's been there forever, hasn't she? I'm like, yes, she has. And I'm like, I couldn't help but overhearing your conversation about healthcare. I'm like, can you tell me a little bit about it? Because, and I told him straight up, I said, look, I'm in favor of a single payer system. And he's like Canada? And I'm like, yeah, a lot like Canada. Oh man, I like that. I said, well, what is your situation? I kind of heard bits and pieces. He said, well, my problem is this. He says, listen, and I had asked him, I said, can we step out? And he was like, sure. And so we stepped outside. He's like, look, he's like, I'm a multi-store manager for this chain of gas stations. He's like, I work 40 hours a week. I make about $14 an hour. And he's like, I pay $125 a week in healthcare premium. So I did the math quick in my head, and I was like, $125 a week, that's $500 a month, right? I'm like, and let's say this guy works 40 hours a week. The first 10 hours, actually more than 10 hours of his week, well, that are his healthcare premium. Now, he hadn't paid for rent, he hadn't paid for food, he hadn't paid for gas, he hadn't paid for clothes, he hadn't paid his truck payment, nothing. And then he piles on and he's like, yeah, and I'm a type 1 diabetic. And this guy was like a thin dude, not like me. He's a type 1 diabetic. And he's like, and I pay another like $300 every 3 months for that. And all I could think was, dude, how do you make it? How do you live? With the housing prices going up and everything else, healthcare is just crushing them. And why? So a bunch of CEOs at healthcare companies and senior executives can all get giant bonuses and stock options and a whole bunch of stuff. And I'll challenge anybody as to what they provide in the way of a healthcare outcome. Why do private health insurance companies exist? And a lot of people say, well, I want private health insurance because I don't want any government. Remember Sarah Palin? Death panels. I don't want any death panels. So here's my view on that. I got a choice. I got a death panel of bureaucrats who don't care and don't have stock options, don't get bonuses based on the profit margin. Or I've got a death panel of board of directors and a bunch of senior executives. If they don't make the profit margin, they don't get it. Now, who's going to kill me first? I don't know, man. Only all of human history and some health insurance companies that are actually on the record of rescinding and killing people when they took away their health insurance. I'm siding that the people who are going to kill us is the board of directors and all the executives who aren't going to make their profit margins, get their stock options, get their bonuses. They're going to kill you really, really fast if it'll help them make their number. Why do they exist? And then on top of that, why does an employer have any role in this? If I work for a great company with great health insurance, and someone else has the same job at a different company that's got terrible health insurance, why is the company we work for involved in my accessibility and my affordability of healthcare? I challenge anybody to explain that in a way that makes any sense whatsoever. Our healthcare system is broken. So that's one of the passion issues I'm about. I'm pretty sure that if you talk to anybody, whether they are a MAGA person or whether they've dyed in the wool blue, if you have that conversation and you really begin to talk it through and you begin to talk about how much they're paying and what they're getting for it and the rising cost of healthcare, they're all going to come around and realize that the system's broken and needs to be fixed. And I'm pretty sure in like 50 years, the Republicans have come up with zero plans for healthcare. We can beat them on issues like that. And guess what? It's not about beating anybody for me, too. I want to be very clear about this. For me, it's about doing something for the people in the 5th District. It's about actually helping these people have a better life. It's actually about the guy at the gas station getting $35 insulin. It's about his healthcare premium just being something taken out of his pre-tax wages and going on someplace so that it's part of his life. It's about people who have disabilities or people who can't work for a while and all not falling into a hole where they don't have health insurance. My campaign is about making people's lives better. It's about looking at the people in the 5th, looking at the 20+% of kids that are being raised in poverty across the 5th. It's looking at the jobs that have left due to offshoring, both to Mexico and China, and the lack of replacement jobs that have filled it. It's about wages that can actually support a life. It's about, in some of the towns, the cost of living going through the roof because they've become destination towns like Boone, where people who have lived there forever can't afford to live anymore. And they have to move further and further out. My campaign is not about fighting over cultural issues and scrapping about a bunch of things that we all are passionate about at one time or another. Mine is, how can we get people so that they have a safe, secure life where they have health care, they have education, they have food, they have clothing, right? And they have work. So that they can have peace, right? The old hierarchy of needs. So that then they can begin living their best lives rather than struggling day to day, which is what they're doing. And this is almost exactly the opposite of Virginia Fox and her record in Congress. When a couple of factories left to go overseas after she supported them going overseas, there was a bill presented to actually help provide funding to retrain people who were losing their jobs. She voted against it. When it comes to earmarks, which people love to point out and say, "Oh, earmarks, they're absolutely horrible." Well, earmarks are ways to bring dollars back into your district to help the people there. So you could get earmarks that are going to build highways. I don't know, but that could provide jobs, et cetera, et cetera. No, she hates earmarks, so she shouldn't bring any money back into her district. When companies move into the area, she adamantly opposes any kind of living wages. When people don't fit her mold of what they should look like what they should think, and who they should worship, all of her words and actions over the years have shown that she views them with contempt. I'm the opposite of Virginia Fox in many ways, because I think everybody should be able to live their best life. Period. I really think everybody should have an opportunity. So people, especially on the right, they say we don't guarantee, equality of outcomes. We only guarantee equality of opportunity. Well, come on. There is not equality of opportunity for kids who are growing up not knowing where their next meal is coming from or how they're going to get to school. And over the past couple of years with COVID, how to even get their school work because they didn't have internet in a lot of areas over the 5th. Virginia Fox has been there close to 18 years. And she hasn't fought for people to have broadband access there. And guess what? I challenge anybody who's not Ted Kaczynski to go live their best life out in the woods without the internet in 2022. It's not going to happen. Children need the internet to learn, to get the information that they need to become educated. Adults, working age adults, need the internet to apply for jobs. And the businesses that hire them need the internet in order to run their business, no matter what kind of business it is. And if you think about healthcare and the elderly and rural hospitalization, or not hospitalization, but rural health care, telehealth is a real opportunity. But guess what you need to participate in telehealth? The internet. But has Virginia Fox ever done anything to try to fight for people? I'll fight for it. I'll get out there and scrap. And not even like what they're doing now, but actually try to get a rural internet bill passed, just like rural electrification, which forces internet to be brought to every single resident that needs it. Because it is a utility. Anybody that says it isn't, I challenge them to live without it for a week and get their job done. They can't. All right. So why am I doing this on YouTube? Because I'm going to do this every single week, and I'm starting out with once. We'll see how it goes, and then I may go to 2 days a week. I may have like a coffee hour in the morning so that people can chat with me or whatever, answer and ask questions, that type of thing. Well, I'm doing it because this is a huge district. And as I said before, I live in Cary, North Carolina, which is about 90 minutes from the edge of the 5th. Now, the 5th is a massive district. There are 100 counties in North Carolina. 12 of those counties are in the 5th district. Now, granted, Forsyth and Caldwell have little pieces of them peeled off, but predominantly 12 counties are in the 5th district, and they're all the northwest corner. You can look on, I posted on Twitter and Facebook a map of the 5th district. I can put one on the website, that type of thing. But out of those 12 counties, it's a massive, massive place. So this is a way for me to be able to reach everybody. Even if I lived, let's say I lived in Winston-Salem, I would still have hours and hours and hours to travel out to Mitchell, right? It's a massive county. So this modern technology is a great way for me to interact with people. It's a great way for me to scale. I'm using a technology called Restream. So I'm on 5 different platforms. They can consolidate, like official Little Silver, who was on YouTube, sent me a comment. Michael Kennedy sent one off of Facebook, and you can click on Twitter probably and send me one there. Send me some questions, right? This is the way that I can scale my message. Also, it's very expensive and time consuming to travel all over the district. And then finally, for those of you who are like, oh, politicians are just a bunch of rich people that are trying to get a permanent job. I work a full-time job. My wife works a full-time job. I have 2 teenage kids at home. So in addition to running for Congress, and people say, well, I already told you why I'm running for Congress. In addition to running for Congress, I have a lot of other responsibilities too. I am the average person. I work for a living. I have to mow my own lawn. Right? I go out yesterday, I spent it edging. I drive kids places. I got to take care of the dog that's barking in the background. I'm running for Congress. I got a lot. And this is a way I can spend time with people and really one-on-one. I mean, if someone really wants to talk to me, ping me, let me know, and I'll schedule some time with you. This is a great way to do it. In today's society, especially with COVID, this is a great way to go about it. Now, I will be driving all around the district, as I have, and meeting with people. I will be holding events, right? No doubt. But with a district that's so big, I really think that this is a fantastic platform for doing this. And that means, and I'm trying to keep up with Facebook and Twitter and everything so that people can ask me questions. I also, one of the things that I've discovered is a lot of people are kind of weirded out by, or maybe not weirded out, but they're not used to a rep that actually makes themselves available. Like everything is some kind of posed photo, at some place. Well, I'm not good at the posed photos, and I guess my campaign folks hate that because they're like, "Where are the photos?" I'm not really the kind of person that does photos, so I guess I need to figure out how to do photos. There are a lot of things I need to figure out about this, but that being said, I want to make myself available to people. You'll notice that on Twitter or Facebook, sometimes I will have interactions, and sometimes a little bit heated with some of the people who are going back and forth. I'm doing that because I think that's the way you learn, is by basically interacting with folks, not being told by other people what's happening. So, unlike Virginia Fox, who's never in the 5th District, or even in North Carolina, because I'm not in the 5th District as much as I'd like to be, I think I can be a part of each of the counties, each of the groups, and talk to people about what's going on there. Now, the other thing is, in each of those counties, this is people are like, well, if you're from Cary, how could you represent the 5th District? It's a great question. But if you look at the 5th District, right, there is no one culture in the 5th District. The people who live up near East Tennessee bear very little resemblance in the way their lives execute on a day-to-day basis with the people who live in West Forsyth County, or West Winston-Salem, or downtown Boone. Right? They don't. It's very different. So there is no one culture that is predominant across the 5th, has been my experience. Now, I've lived in a lot of different places. I've traveled a lot in the country. I was an IT consultant for 15 years, traveled all over the country and some in the world, meeting with people in places, California, Indiana, Texas, Florida, all over. And I lived in Maine for 10 years, and Maine actually is very, very similar to North Carolina. And I've now lived in North Carolina for 12 years. I've seen a lot of the different types of lives that people live in Western North Carolina in my travels. And I'm learning more and more and more about them as I go up. But I know I can represent, because I've had to go represent different points of view all over for a long period of time. I know I can learn, because that is what I've always been paid to do, is go figure out and solve problems. So people are like, well, you're not from here. Yeah, you're right. But arguably, neither is Virginia Fox, right? She's been up there for 18 years. She really didn't know anything. And then when it comes to what do I bring on the other side of this, I'm in IT. I know technology. In my consulting world, I worked in pharmaceutical benefit management, insurance, both health and life, specialty insurance, manufacturing, entertainment, software, all these industries. So I bring a tremendous scope of knowledge across a lot of different industries, a lot of different geographies, a lot of different ways of seeing the world that could be brought to bear to help the people of the 5th. Now, that being said, one thing I've learned in my life is the longer and older I get, the less I know. So anyone who wants to tell me about the 5th and wants to enlighten me and wants to help me learn and experience the things that need to happen there, please reach out. And if you go to Kyle at kp4nc.com, I answer. And I'll be glad to talk to you. All right? So, that's important. So, as we talked about a little bit earlier, there's issues that drive me, and healthcare, of course, is predominant. Because without good health, the rest of your life is extremely difficult. If you're trying to learn and you're sick, you can't learn. If you're trying to go to work, you can't make a living. You know, if you're trying to do anything when you're sick, it is brutal. Healthcare is vital. And to financially destroy people over healthcare is unconscionable. I also have other issues that I really care about. Right? Along with healthcare, housing is a vital thing. I realize some areas across the Fifth, housing isn't that huge an issue, but in the areas where it is, we need to figure out how to get people the housing that they need at an affordable rate so that they can live their lives without the fear of waking up without a place to live. It's just not okay. I've already talked about broadband, and it needs to be not only universal and accessible, it needs to be affordable. If somebody brings internet to your house and they go, hey, you got internet at your house, but it's $200 a month and you don't have $200 a month, that's got to get fixed. We've got to make it affordable for people. I'm also a fan of a living wage for jobs. So, the $15 minimum wage has been talked about a lot. As we talked about, if you are an individual who is making 14 or 15 bucks and you're paying $125 a week in health insurance, it's not enough. I mean, that guy wasn't a teenager. It used to be when I was a kid and you got a job at McDonald's, you got a job where I did at the Exxon or Food Lion, right? And somebody paid you at that time, it was saying $3-4 an hour. Life wasn't very expensive. And I was a kid, and it really didn't matter because all I was trying to do was come up with some money to spend on the weekends and maybe save up to put gas in the car, right? It wasn't a big deal. But go into these places now. Go into a McDonald's, go into any kind of place, a service industry of any kind. And how many teenagers do you see working there? Versus how many people who are adults with families or elderly people who have a job after they retired or lost their job. The predominant people inside of these places now are not kids. That story is old. That ship sailed. So when people are saying they shouldn't make $15 an hour, that's what you get, that's ridiculous. I tell them it's ridiculous. And these companies in COVID have had to start paying money for employees. And guess what? None of them collapsed. And the stock market still went up. And they still made huge profits. So I believe in a living wage. And I believe in making sure that people have enough money, put food on their table, a roof on their head. They pay for internet into their house because they got to have it, right? To have health care for when they get sick, right? Very, very important. Each of these things. And this all leads to education. There have been tremendous attacks on education over recent months, years, ongoing. And in rural areas, particularly here in North Carolina, education has been under attack for at least 27 years. And why did I pick the number 27? Well, it's easy. 27 years ago, a guy named Leandro sued the state of North Carolina for not funding rural schools. And he won. And guess what? He's won for 27 years. And the Republican legislatures have refused to give up the funding for the rural schools. Hey, and I got a question for you. Guess where there's some rural schools? That's right, the 5th District. Oh, and so they're being systematically underfunded. And guess who's on the Education and Labor Committee and has never tried to get more money? Who's actually, when money has come up, even during COVID, COVID to give more to education, voted against it. That's right, Virginia Fox. So not only does she not call up her local folks and state folks and say, give my district money to educate the children who live here, she won't get any federal money for them either. So guess what? You have kids that don't have all the food they need, don't have the heat they need in the winter, don't have the internet to access their educational materials, don't have food on the table, and their schools don't have pencils and paper and other things they need to actually educate them. And in 2022, it's great to talk about how everybody should be a plumber, a truck driver, an electrician, and those are great jobs. And there's this thing called Be Pro, Be Proud that I think is fantastic. It's this pilot program about how to kind of get people who want to go into the trades and see if they're suitable for it and get them going into the trades. But there are a lot of things in today's society that you need higher education for. And everybody should have. Remember that saying that Republicans love about equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome? Well, if their schools suck because they're underfunded, that's not an equality of opportunity. So these rural kids are left behind, which means they can't start businesses and resurrect this place. And Virginia Fox is putting her thumb on the scales against them, if not her, squeezing them to make it so that they can't get educated. I will fight for that education. So I'm out. So what am I all about? I'm all about education, public education being strong and helping kids build that equality of opportunity. I'm all about good jobs for their parents so that they can provide those kids a place to live, clothing, food on the table, school supplies, and everything they need to be successful. I'm all about health care for the grandparents, the parents, and the kids so that they can be healthy and they can live their best lives and they can function. Right? And I'm all about whatever it takes to make the people of the fifth happier, healthier, and more productive in their lives. Now you notice I didn't talk about any cultural issues. I don't want to get in fights about Trump or anything else. And I know that sometimes I have online. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't have enough to eat, if you don't have a place to live, if you don't have health care, if you don't have internet, and you're not going to get an education because everything is stacked against you, there is zero equality of opportunity in your area, you don't have time to worry about that. And that, my friends, is why these people have been so drawn into this kind of angry, vitriolic dynamic. Because there's a hopelessness that pervades this. And I want to give people back hope. I want to give them the idea that somebody who's representing them actually does care about them. Because Virginia Fox in 18 years has not done anything to prove she cares about them. She does not do anything to show that I can find that she's interested in the health and welfare of the people in her district. Now, I will tell you this, and we can talk about this in the future. She has traded over $9 million personally in stock as a congressperson. $9 million in stock. You don't have to believe me. Go online and look it up. So she takes the information she gets in her committee meetings with the buddies and everything else, and then she makes a bunch of money off it and makes herself rich. All the while, she brings no money back into the district for anyone via earmarks. She doesn't fight for any education funding for the area. When people lose their jobs due to offshoring, she refuses to bring in any retraining money. Why are people still voting for her? Forget party. Like, seriously, as I said, run as a Democrat because that's how you get on the ticket. She's running as a Republican because that's how everybody here votes. And that's what they do. They go, Republican, check. Republican, check. People need to put that aside and say, you know what? How is my life going to be better? And what has she done for 18 years? Those 20 people I talked to at Christmas in July, when I talked to them, and that not a single person could tell me something she had done for the district, I was like, this is why I'm running. I may be from Cary. I may not have grown up in Western North Carolina. You know, but damn, I care more about the people up there than she does today. And if she says that's not true, ask her what she's done for the people up there. That's it. And Andrea, so there's people ask the question, Andrea, we should go door to door. We should figure out different ways to get out there and canvass and get in contact with people. And we should be talking about these issues: healthcare, housing, education, right? Jobs, and what people need in the way of internet and accessibility to help them function in today's society. I think that's absolutely vital. And I think if we have those conversations, we can make a difference. And I'll tell you, as I said at the beginning of this, we don't need to preach to the choir. The choir is going to vote. So when I look at Watauga County, it's great. I love Boone. Oh, what a great place. I love the people in Watauga. Me spending a bunch of time going around talking to people there that are slapping me on my back isn't going to change anything. Same thing with people that are in Watauga County who are all excited about slapping each other on the back. It's great. Let's go to Ash. Let's go to Mitchell. Let's go to Avery. Let's go to Allegheny. Let's go to Stokes. Let's go to Surrey. Let's go to Yadkin. Let's go to Davie. Let's go. Right? And let's go talk to the people who don't agree with us. Sure, it's uncomfortable. But those are the people that are going to make a difference. So anyway, it's about time, 7:58. I don't know how many people have shown up to this. I know that my friend Andrea has because she's talking to me now. And you know, Catherine Charles, official Little Silver, whoever that, and Michael Kennedy. I don't know how many of you stuck because I really don't know how this thing works that well. I'm assuming it worked because looks like it's still going on the screen. Anyhow, and I hope that this has been interesting and informative. And if somebody does take the time to watch this later and say, hey, what's Kyle Parrish about? I hope they get something from this. And if you do watch this later, do not hesitate, or if you're watching now, do not hesitate to email me. Just like Andrew, you asked. Absolutely. Email me and we'll connect. Connect with me. You know, send me a messenger. Sometimes I'm going to be delayed getting back to you. I'm not going to lie. But I will. And if I don't, hit me up again. Right? Because that's why I'm here. I'm here for you guys. Right? I'm not here for me. Like I said, I got a job. I mean, I really do. And so this is really, I'm hoping to make a difference. That's why I'm doing this. So thanks for coming out tonight. I really, really appreciate it. Check out my website at kp4nc.com or just Kyle Parrish for Congress, all one word.com. You can check out my Twitter. That's at kp4nc. Instagram, same thing, at kp4nc. And let's see, Facebook is Kyle Parrish for Congress. If you just put that in the search on Facebook, it'll take you right to the page. And YouTube Live, or just YouTube in general, also the same. So please hit me up, follow, retweet, share, comment, the whole works. I love it. Anyway, have a great night. Andrea, you have a great night too. And I'll talk to all y'all soon.